This week on Rust Rescue, our friends from Wicked Kustoms are going to come down and take a look at our project cars. Then we're going to head up to CarQuest to pick up the parts we need for our rebuild. And finally, Vince is going to show you how to do a rebuild on a 350 Chevy motor. I'm waiting for our friends Marianne and Greg from Wicked Kustoms to come up and take a look at our current projects. They need to assess the bodywork that we've done so far and see what do we need to do to get these cars ready to take them over for paint. I think I hear them coming up now. Let's go meet them.
How you doing?
Hey guys, nice to see you, Greg.
Good to see you.
Hey Joey. Hey buddy. Hey, good to see you, Marianne. Thanks so much for coming.
Absolutely.
We've got a couple cars for you guys to take a look at. Inside the garage, we've got our LeMans project, and then we've also got the Chevy Nova that we want you to take a look at. We've done a little bit of body work on the LeMans, so please don't criticize too much.
Not a problem.
See how we did that,
Absolutely.
what else we need to do.
That's what we're here for.
I know. And then we'll go and take a look at the Nova. We haven't done anything on that. It's in a lot better shape, so it should be a lot easier project. So, want to start inside?
Absolutely.
You good, Joey? Yeah, you're good. All right, come on. So this is the LeMans project. It's looking a little Halloweenish right now because Vince has done a little bit of body work here. So we've, done some hammering and a little bit of bondoing here. So kind of want you guys to take a look at what he's done so far on this. And then we still have some panels that we haven't touched yet to get a recommendation on what do we need to do to get this ready to bring to you guys for paint. What might we need to redo that maybe we didn't do as well as we probably should have? So what's your professional opinion?
Absolutely. Well, from what I can tell, it looks like you got a little bit of body work done here, a little bit of primer. I see a little bit of rust still in the wheel wells, and typically that's the first thing that I always look for, is rust or corrosion. And so that still needs to be treated with a metal treatment of some kind. But as far as the primer goes, I don't see anything that really sticks out, terribly by any means. So, it would be just kind of getting the rest of the panels caught up, so to speak. So, you got to take your chrome off.
Sure.
Strip the panel with, sandpaper, chemicals, those kind of things.
Okay, great. Yeah, and then we can finish priming that. And okay, so we didn't do a terrible job.
No, I would say just one area is making sure that back here it actually adhered.
Okay, yeah, it looks like we've got a little spot here that we missed.
Sure.
So just making sure, putting maybe some duct tape on it and peeling it real fast to make sure that what you put down adhered to the surface below it, that it was prepped properly.
Okay, great. Yeah, we definitely missed a spot there. Okay, let's go around. I want to show you a problem area that we've got on the front.
Sure.
We have so much rust through here. I mean, there was almost no workable metal at all. We really kind of had to rebuild this and piece it from scratch. So let's move that.
Right.
It was just not pretty. And so we still have a lot here that I'm really concerned about. I'm not even sure it's going to hold a windshield, and honestly, I don't really know what to do about that.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most problematic areas for just about any car that's, this old. So this is something that does have to be addressed in one way, shape, or form. There's a lot of different ways that you can address this. If it was to come to us like this, we would definitely cut some of this out. Make a piece unless you can buy one at a reasonable price.
Okay.
But essentially you kind of gotta get a little creative here and make a piece of metal, weld it in, and then you can go to your filler and your primer. That would be the correct way to do it. Okay,
I'll check with Vince and see what all we can do on that, and if it's something that we want to tackle or if it's something we might want to let you guys just do for us, because that is just some of the challenging areas on this car. Okay, great. Thanks so much.
No problem.
We ought to check out the Nova outside. That's going to be much, much easier.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, I know. This is our Nova project. As you can see, it's in much better shape than the LeMans, but I think that this was just a cheap paint job that they did to make it look all shiny to sell, but fortunately our client doesn't want to keep the red anyway. He wants to go with a really glossy black with some cool green ghost flames on the front to match the Kermit green engine that we just painted. So, but I suspect that it's going to need, it's probably not in as good a condition as it looks, because I can see some bubbling already down here by the back fender. So what do we need to be looking at here?
Yes, well, as you can see, like you were saying, there's the bubbling and stuff, which is common for these cars, and it's also a common practice for people to put a quick paint job on to try and sell the car so they can get more money. Now, I do have a question. I see where the trim is being pulled off. Is the trim going back on the car, or is it going to?
No.
Okay.
We're going to leave the trim off.
Okay, so all of these will need to be cut off, and so you grind those off, and then we'll go on and fill those holes. That way it's smooth, especially if it's going to be going a gloss black.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be really slick. But moving on, you'll see, you know, further down, I mean, it's got some chips and some little things like that, but typically in these quarters, the fenders and things, you're always going to see those little rust spots, and you can actually feel where some body work has been done.
Yeah, it's not quite
before.
smooth right here.
So
Okay.
those are some of the main things to look at.
The trim around the windows too has been kind of
Yeah.
painted.
Yeah, we can see there's a lot of overspray
Right there.
here.
As well as right in around the windshield itself.
Okay.
So when you're buying a car, those are some things to look for as well, just to make sure, you know, the trim, make sure there's no overspray,
Right.
things like
It's
that,
hard
to
to
see
clean
if
off.
Okay.
it's something that they were just doing a quick paint job to try and get more money, or if it's something that they actually took their time with. And
Yeah, I don't think they took their time on this one, but that's okay. We're going to change it up anyway. Anything that you recommend that we do other than grind off these little attachments for the trim?
the engine compartment.
Okay, let's take a look in here.
If you look in there, it's really, really greasy. Grease and paint don't mix, so getting that nice and clean, maybe using some Purple Power,
Okay.
pressure wash it real good.
We've already done that once. You should have seen what it used to look like.
And actually, before it goes in for paint, we'll do it again, but this way, as many layers as possible
Okay.
to be able to get off.
We can do that, no problem.
And then, you know, tearing off the bumpers, since the bumpers are something that won't need to be painted. You can disassemble those yourself, as
Okay.
well as any of the chrome trim that you could take off yourself.
Okay,
That's going to save, obviously, the body shop time, which ultimately saves you money.
sounds great, because we want to donate our budget to the Ghost Flames, so we'll do as much of the prep work as we can ourselves.
Yes.
All right, well, sounds great. So I guess you guys probably need to go back and put together some estimates based on what we've told you we want to do on these cars, and then we'll schedule a time to come up to your shop and go over the numbers and get started on the projects.
Sounds like a plan.
Great. Thanks so much for coming over, guys. Really appreciate it. Drive safe.
Okay.
While Vince is finishing taking apart the motor for the Nova and getting it cleaned up, I'm heading over to Mooresville, North Carolina to CarQuest to pick up the parts we need for the rebuild. Hey, Craig.
Hey, Leanne, I got all your stuff ready.
Awesome. What have we got?
All right, we have your oil and filter. We went with premium filter and synthetic oil.
Great.
Longer intervals between changing.
Perfect.
So we got that. We have your paint for the motor, the green
Awesome.
Chrysler paint.
Yeah, our client wants green for the Nova motor, but
Yeah.
ooh, looks like he gave me some orange
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that was typical Chevrolet orange. That way you can have a choice of which one you wanted to go with.
This we're gonna save for our next project.
Sounds
Perfect.
fun.
What else we have?
We got your fuel pump, your water pump. Then we have your piston rings, rod bearings, main bearings, which are the oversized that you ordered.
Great.
Then we have your oil pump and your pickup tube, your set of lifters, and some assembly lube.
Oh, good. Lube, always good.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think we've got everything we need here. Now that I've got all the parts, all I'm gonna have to do is find some primer and for our LeMans project, and we'll be good to go on that
We
too.
can actually help you out with that. We sell paint and body supplies here.
Great. What have you got? We've got a 72 LeMans GTO that we need to prime because we're probably going to do a flat orange paint over it.
Flat orange, I would definitely go with a lighter gray.
Okay.
It's going to be easier to cover with the paint. You can get a kit of primer for about $100.
Awesome.
So.
Let's do it.
All right. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, great. Thanks. Cool. So this is the primer, and what is this part?
This is the activator. It's actually what turns this liquid into a hard substance.
Okay, so we need to mix these two.
They mix together. This is everything you'll need. It's 4 parts of primer to 1 part activator.
Okay. So that'll give us actually like 5 quarts of sprayable paint.
You do get 5 quarts of sprayable paint. It's typically enough to do 1 whole car for your first coat of primer.
Okay, great. Now, do you guys do custom colors as well, so we can come back and get the actual paint for the car?
We do. We mix a couple different kinds of paint. We can do single stage or base coat, clear coat, and we can do any color in the rainbow.
Wonderful. Well, we will have to come back when we're ready to paint this thing, because I think we're probably going to go with, we're thinking right now on a flat orange for this one.
Oh, that sounds good. We actually have a couple options for flat clears. So
great. That's perfect.
Got a couple different choices.
All right, well, we'll start with the primer, and then we'll come back when we need the colored paint.
All right, sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna grab this box.
You got it?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Nah.
All right, I'll come back with the primer.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we got our Chevy block motor back on the 74. It's all cleaned up, making sure that everything was good. We basically had them check the area around the heads where they were leaking to make sure that the heads weren't cracked. We also had them check the block. The block isn't cracked. It was basically definitely a head gasket that was the problem with this motor. Well, we're going to reassemble it now. It's been all cleaned up. We wanted to get all the gunk off of it. Yes, the motor is green. The gentleman that we're building this motor for and the gentleman that we're doing the customization on the Nova for wants a black car with green accents. So this is what he's asked for. Looks okay. I usually go with the standard color, but this is going to be an interesting build. What we're going to do first is we're going to coat all the areas where the bearings are going to be going in underneath and on top of the bearings with assembly lube. This stuff is a must. Use as much of it as you want. You can't use too much. What we did is we went over to our buddies over at CarQuest and got all new bearings, all new water pump, fuel pump, everything that we needed for this motor so that we can bring this motor back 100%. You can see the bearings that we have here are 30 overs because somebody had already bored this motor a little bit. We have 30 over bearings. We have 60 over pistons and rings. So it's going to be an interesting build all the way around. Let's get this thing together. First thing you want to do is you want to go and put a decent amount of this where the bearings are going to sit for your crankshaft. Like I said before, you can't use too much of it. This will cause, or this will help with the friction part of the situation. This way you don't have to worry about the motor actually having no oil pressure in the beginning. This will take care of that. What you're going to want to do is you're going to grab your bearings and you're going to make sure that you have the both pins, these little tabs, on the same side. And then you're going to want to also make sure that you're facing the bearings in the right direction. One bearing has a hole in it, as you can see right there, and that bearing goes in the hole that's on the block itself. So you're talking about goes just like this. Make sure they're in there good. We'll put this one back in the box. And then the same thing all the way down the line. The block should have little notches cut in it to match the little notch that's on the bearing itself. Now, once you've got the bearings in, give them another coat of the assembly lube. Again, this is going to keep you from ruining the bearings while this motor is dry and you're assembling it and you're spinning it and all that. Now, make sure before you put your crank in, it's nice and clean. This way we have no problems down the road. And the crank should go right in, making sure that your timing chain gear is up front and your balance is in the back. Once again, a little bit of lube. Okay, we're ready to put the caps back on. Again, make sure it's all nice and clean. There's the top part of the seal has to go in. Remember, the race part of it goes towards the oil source. Same as before, grab your bearing, grab your lube, make sure your race is in place, and then on it goes. Then you're just going to want to put your bolts in place just to kind of hold it all there. Now, if you remember, each one of these has a number on it. Make sure that you put number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Do not mix them up. It's pretty simple to mix them up, so I would just make sure you read them, put them in order, and then slowly take one at a time and put them in place. And don't forget that lube. There's also an arrow. There's also an arrow on the top of each one with the number. Make sure the arrow goes to the front of the motor. Now, you're going to just want to snug these down. You don't want to tighten them. The next thing we're going to need is a torque wrench. This is going to be used to torque down the heads to a certain pound pressure. This way the bearings can move the way they're supposed to. On the mains, on this motor, the 350 Chevy motor for 1974, your outers are at 75 pounds and your inners are at 65. So we've got ours set for 75. I always go in an X. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's start with this one. When you hear that click, that's telling you that it's in where it should be. Now, you're going to want to reset your wrench to 65. And then you're going to want to do the inners. Here you go. Crankshaft is in. Even when it's torqued down to the right specs, it should move freely like that. All right. Next step we're going to do is we're going to put the rings and the pistons, and then we're going to put the pistons back in the motor and get them all torqued down as well.